The old man didn't look like much to most people. He wore a worn brown jacket, plain jeans, and boots that had seen better days. A dark green cap sat low on his forehead, hiding his eyes. He held a small leather bag in one hand, his steps steady but slow. He didn't walk like someone in a hurry. He didn't check his phone or wear headphones. He just stood there quietly in the airport security line, like he had all the time in the world. No one knew his name, not yet, but they would. It was a regular morning at Jackson International Airport, Gate 3, busy, noisy, a little tense. People sighed loudly as they took off shoes, belts, and coats. Security workers barked out directions: laptops in a bin, shoes off. Keep it moving. In the middle of the line stood the old man, still quiet, still patient. A few spots ahead, two young security officers were leaning over their station, watching the line. When they saw him, they started whispering. "Look at this guy," one officer said with a smirk. The other laughed. "I hope he knows what he's doing. Looks like he's never been to an airport." They weren't whispering softly. People around them heard it. So did the old man. But he didn't respond. He just reached into his coat and pulled out his passport. His hands were slow, but steady. He placed it on the desk in front of them. The officer rolled his eyes and grabbed it. "Let's see how long this takes," he said under his breath. They were still laughing when they scanned it. Beep, the screen flashed once. Then again, the laughter stopped. The system froze for half a second, then opened up a special alert window. Military clearance identified name: General Thomas M. Hayes, Ret status 4-star General, confidential travel privileges. Confirmed. The officer's mouth dropped open. He stepped back. Sir, just a moment please." The other officer leaned in. His face turned pale. "Is this for real?" The old man gave a small smile. "It's real." A hush fell over the checkpoint. No more jokes. No more whispers. The two officers stood up straighter. One cleared his throat. "Sir," he said quickly, "would you prefer a private screening area?" "We can," but the general raised his hand. "No need," he said calmly. "I've stood in longer lines than this, and in harder places." His voice was steady, deep, a voice that had once given orders in war zones. Now, it simply asked for dignity. It started with a small sound, just the soft tapping of fingers on a phone screen. A woman in line behind the old man couldn't shake what she had just seen. She had heard the laughter, seen the way the guards smirked, and felt her stomach turn when they mocked him. But when she saw the look on his face, the calm, the silence, the grace, she knew there had to be more to him. So she typed the name she had glimpsed on the screen: Thomas M. Hayes. A few seconds later, her eyes widened. She stared at her phone, blinked, then leaned in closer. There he was. Right there, in full color. A younger version of the man, standing just a few feet away: General Thomas M. Hayes. A 4-star general. Decorated veteran, commander in 3 different wars, leader of international peacekeeping missions, advisor to presidents, spokesman at the UN, recipient of the Medal of Honor, and more awards than the screen could list. She read it once. Then again, she couldn't believe it. This quiet old man, the one who had just been laughed at by airport security, was a national hero. She turned to the person behind her and whispered, "Do you know who that is?" "No," the person said. "Who?" She held up her phone and said softly, "That's who." The man behind her looked at the screen, then looked up at the general. His mouth dropped open. Word began to spread like wildfire. But this time, not with laughter. It moved through the line, in hushed voices and wide eyes. "He's a general, a real one, 4 stars. Look at this article. He led the rescue in Syria. He got the Medal of Honor. He worked with 3 presidents. Why is he flying commercial?" He didn't even say who he was. People who had looked away before were now leaning forward, watching the man with new eyes. Their expressions softened, their posture changed. Some of them now stood a little straighter, a little more still. The room didn't feel the same anymore. Even the 2 officers at the front, the ones who had laughed the loudest, were now whispering to each other, faces pale and panicked. One of them swallowed hard. "We messed up," the other just nodded. And the old man? He hadn't moved, still standing quietly, still holding his worn leather bag, still waiting his turn, like any other traveler. But now, he wasn't just any traveler, he was the man who had once protected the very freedom these guards stood under. And yet, he had said nothing. No anger, no show of power, no demand for respect, just stillness. And that somehow was louder than anything he could have said. The two young security officers stood frozen, their mouths were open, but no real words came out. One finally managed, "Sir, we didn't know." The other nodded quickly, looking down at his shoes, like a schoolboy caught doing something wrong. "Me." The old man gave them both a calm look. His voice was low, almost gentle. That's the point. He didn't yell, he didn't shame them, he just said it, like a truth that had always been there, waiting for someone to listen. Then he took his small leather bag and walked slowly toward his gate. No rush, no anger, just quiet strength in every step. He moved like a man who had walked through storms and come out stronger. And now, this wasn't a storm, it was a moment. A small, sad one, but one he had seen, coming a mile away. Near the gate, a young flight attendant, with a nervous smile rushed over. She had a radio in one hand, boarding passes in the other. "Sir? A General Hayes?" she asked, almost tripping over his name. He stopped and turned to her. "Yes, we've moved you to first class, it's already arranged." He looked at the ticket in her hand, then back at her. There was no pride in his face, no joy, just that same steady calm. "Appreciated," he said after a pause. "But I didn't serve for upgrades." The flight attendant's eyes blinked fast, unsure what to say next. After a second, he gave her a half smile, just enough to ease the tension, but he added, "I'll take the seat, not for comfort, just to give folks a reason to think." And with that, he walked toward the boarding door. There were no trumpets, no spotlight, no loudspeaker saying who he was. But when he stepped onto the plane, something shifted. It was like a ripple in still water. The businessman in row 2 looked up from his phone. The older couple near the front leaned forward in their seats. A teenage boy in a hoodie dropped his headphones around his neck. One by one, they stood, no announcements, no orders, just instinct. Some people placed hands over their hearts, some bowed their heads, some simply nodded, deep slow nods, full of meaning. Even a little girl near the window turned to her mother and asked in a whisper, "Mommy, is he a soldier?" Her mother nodded, voice catching in her throat. "He was, honey, a very important one." The old man said nothing. He didn't wave like a celebrity, didn't smile wide like a winner, didn't make a speech. He just placed 2 fingers to the brim of his cap, a small salute, simple, pure. Then he took his seat, near the front, sat down gently, and rested his hands in his lap. People didn't go back to scrolling right away. They didn't start talking again, not yet. They just remembered what real honor looks like. Sometimes, heroes don't wear medals you can see. They don't walk through life asking for attention or praise. They wear plain jackets, carry old leather bags, stand quiet in lines, behind people who laugh too quickly. They're the kind of people you don't notice until one moment opens your eyes. And then, once you see, you can't unsee. Because what they carry isn't in their hands, it's in their heart, in their silence, in the weight of years and service they never asked to be thanked for. And sometimes, that thanks comes late. But when it does, it matters. Respect isn't something we give after someone shows us a title. Respect is what we give because every person has a story we don't know yet. So next time you see someone older, quieter, or slower than you, don't laugh, don't roll your eyes, don't assume, because they may just be someone who once gave you the freedom to stand where you are now. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't flash his rank, but one scan reminded the world, some heroes walk among us and ask for nothing but respect.